I can't knock anybody for trying. I can't knock anybody that's successful. I can't knock anybody that's not successful. At least, hey, at least you tried. You might surprise yourself. You might fall flat on your face, but hey, at least you tried and you knew you either could do it or you couldn't do it. There's a lot of talkers in the world. There's not a lot of actors in the world. So,
yeah.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
Our first guest has about 10 years in the business and can currently be seen as one half of the United States Tag Team Champions in the NWA, one half of the Fixers. Please welcome Wrecking Ball Legursky.
What's going on? How you doing? Unfortunately, we are no longer the U.S. Tag Team Champions. Yeah.
You've got to update that bio.
My bad. It's Snitsky's fault.
It's Snitsky's fault, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. But definitely check him out on the NWA. I mean, I love what the Fixers are doing there. And our next guest is a veteran in the wrestling world. You might know him best for his time in WWE. He recently popped up on Monday Night Raw out of the blue, which was awesome. But it wasn't his fault. Please welcome Gene Snitsky.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I am currently having dinner, so if you see me eating while we're being interviewed, too bad.
It's not his fault. No, that's really cool, and I hope you enjoy your meal. But Snitsky, so I said you showed up on Raw, which was, I feel like nobody expected that. So random to see you there, but really cool. How did that actually come about?
Well, first of all, the element of surprise is always key, because when people expect it, then they're not quite as shocked. So pro wrestling is all about the shock factor. So needless to say, me showing up backstage with Chelsea Green was shocking, as we see by all the people who are commenting on it. And the 1.8 million or so people on WWE social media that have been, tweeting it, retweeting it, telling me how much they love me, how much, how awesome I am. I can't blame them. I tell my wife that all the time. But anyways, but on a serious note, no, it's
Can
cool,
we get
man.
a fact check on that?
Nah, she's right here if you want to ask her.
Hey, Wrecking Ball, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
So yeah, it was I'm always honored the way the fans react to my stuff. It's crazy, like all these years later. That was actually in 2004, so we're going on 20 years since that happened.
Wow. So
for the response that I get to this day, it's crazy. Like, as a performer, I'm flattered beyond words. It's like, it's crazy because I get it every single day of my life. At the store, downtown, at like wherever I am. Oh, hey, it's not my fault. Ha ha ha. Like every day. Every day. For the last 19 years, it's nuts.
That's so cool. And showing up on Raw, did you see a lot of like old faces and old friends and everything? Was it a lot different?
It's always going to be different because the names and faces are always changing. But Sean Davari, who I used to travel with while I was at WWE, he's an agent now. And he had reached out to me and he's like, hey, man, we're in Wilkes-Barre. I'm like, oh, cool. So, one thing led to another. I was there. The backstage segment was phenomenal. Chelsea's awesome to work with. She's freaking hilarious. The character is great. I was like, I don't ever break character. And I said to my wife, I'm like, man, I so wanted to laugh out loud at her. She's just freaking funny. So, we did the skit. And, it's crazy how, I hate to keep saying it, but it's crazy how pro wrestling, just the goofiest stuff sticks with people. Because we talk about it all the time at the shop. It's like, that was 2004. Like, it wasn't 2016 or 17 or 18. It was almost 20 years ago. So it's crazy. Like, I have to pinch myself because it's crazy that people remember. I mean, I'm a guy from a small coal mining town in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like on all these top moments in WWE history. It's crazy. Like, it's just nuts. But I'll take it.
No, definitely. It's so cool. And for someone who, like, I grew up watching when I was born in 98. So when not to make you feel old or anything, but yeah, like, you were definitely a big part of my childhood watching wrestling. So seeing you pop back up, that was
I don't feel old, man. I'm like in the best shape of my life. Wrecking Ball.
You are. That was my next question is, How are you keeping that shape?
Well, I have to keep up with my amazing wife because we have a gym in the basement. Our whole basement's a gym. So I have no excuses not to get up and work out. I have no excuses not to go to the gym. I have no excuses not to take advantage of the equipment that we have at the house. But I've always worked out since I'm a teenager. I just like to look good. I mean, some people will call me conceited, but I don't care. I just like to look good all the time, everywhere I go.
Self-worth. Yeah.
And, I've just consistently worked out since I'm a teenager, and I just enjoy it. I love working out. I actually won the silver medal at the Arnold Sports Fest in South Africa for the bicep curl event. So,
Oh, wow. I had
that's
no
pretty
idea.
cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hung out with Schwarzenegger. It was cool. That was a cool event. And, I mean, it's just crazy how my life has gone, like in the directions that it's gone, because it's like, I did the pro football thing. I was all state in high school in football. I played at Division I Missouri. I was in the Big Eight. Ended up being coached by Andy Reid, who was the Eagles coach, who was my all-time favorite team. And then, like, just the tracking of events that took place for me to end up here talking to you is just crazy to me how, like, life just goes and you find yourself here doing an interview with Wrecking Ball Legursky. It's crazy how things happen.
That is insane. And Wrecking Ball, yeah, I'd love to throw it to you and hear how your journey to wrestling began. I know you too had a football background as well.
Yeah, so I played Division II college football at Southern Connecticut State University. Once my career was over, I had a bunch of injuries in college. I didn't take it to where I wanted to go. There was a training school in New Haven, which is the town Southern Connecticut State was in. Started training there and got going from there. I eventually trained with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, who are in AEW right now, and Vincent as well, who's in AEW. And then years later, I trained with Bubba Ray Dudley for a few years.
Yeah, and you've had some, amazing trainers. Do you remember what it was that like captured you to go into pro wrestling originally? What that moment was?
I can't think of a moment necessarily. I just always grew up watching it during the Attitude Era. The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, all those guys. I like the larger than life presentation. This big tough dudes beating each other up with some crazy shenanigans going on.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Like baby punting and stuff like that.
Baby punting, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A little bit here, a little bit there. Gene, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because you as well, started in football and then chose wrestling instead. I think you also had some injuries that came up. What was your journey like into pro wrestling?
Well, ironically, I was the crazy kid that would go around telling anybody who would listen to me, "You're gonna watch me on Sunday on NFL, on Monday Night Raw." Like, as long as I can remember, like back to 12, 13 years old, I would tell people that, and they look at me like I had three heads. And the funny thing is, they're some of the same people that would come up to me and be like, "Hey, can I get an autograph for my nephew?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, really? Oh, I remember you." So it's kind of cool, like the way it went full circle. But yeah, I was a kid telling everybody that would listen to me that I was going to do it. But I was always into sports, so I wanted to see how far I could go with sports before I get into wrestling. But I always knew I was going to do it, just a matter of when and where. But like I could vividly remember being 10 years old, flipping through the channels on Saturday morning and seeing Saturday Morning Superstars with Hogan cutting a promo, and then ever since then I was hooked. Like I'm thinking, man, look at this guy. He's like a nut. This is great. Like where I grew up, like in the coal region, people like that was how people acted at the bar on Friday night. So that's what caught me and like my attention and got me into the wrestling. And we would never miss a show, man. Like Saturday Morning Superstars, WORT TV out of New York, man. If you missed that, you had nothing to talk about on Monday morning at school. So you better get your ass up and watch that show.
Awesome. So what was it that made you choose wrestling like officially? What was that first step into the wrestling business versus football?
Well, I went to camp in San Diego, and I was there a couple months. And I had torn my labrum in college at Missouri, and it was misdiagnosed. So I still got signed. I still went to the combines. I still did the whole thing, yeah, the whole 9 yards, so to speak. No football pun intended. Ha ha ha. And
I thought 40 yards, not 9 yards.
well, I only counted the first 9. So then went to the combines, did the thing with the Chargers. Ended up, my shoulder kept popping out on me. I'm like, fuck, this has got to be worse than just a subluxed shoulder. So ended up having a torn labrum. Went to my agent at the time. His buddy was buddies with the Steelers team physician. So I drove out to Pittsburgh, got my shoulder operated on. Took a year and a half off, came back in 95 and played with the Birmingham Barracudas in the CFL. And then I was like, man, this ain't really what my idea of pro football was. So I retired and then got into wrestling in 96. So those of you that are good at math, that's 27 years I've been doing this stuff. So
wow, definitely a veteran. Yeah. And I saw you were trained by Alpha of the Wild Samoans. Is that true?
yeah, no, ironically, the camp ended up being like 45 minutes from my house. And
wow.
Hooked up with Lloyd and Sam, and they brought me on a European tour. We went all throughout Europe, all throughout the military bases, actually, it was all over the place. It wasn't just Europe. We were in Japan, Uzbekistan, Qatar, Egypt, Bahrain, Afghanistan, Europe. Like, we were everywhere. It was a month long. I was gone for a month. And we did, I think, like 18, 20 shows, something like that. And that was my breaking into the wrestling business with Samu and Lloyd. And Sam would chop the shit out of me every night, body slam me on the floor outside. But I knew as an athlete that they were just testing me to see, if I could cut it. So never said a word, just kind of did my thing. And, with me, the wrestling business is the biggest thing to me is respect. Like, have respect for the guys, have respect for the guys you're wrestling. Because, basically I have their life in my hands and they have my life in their hands. So my biggest thing when I trained with Pops, he would always say, respect, walk in the locker room, say hello to everybody, introduce yourself, go into the corner, keep your mouth shut, eyes and ears open. And I followed that to this day. And Wrecking Ball will tell you, I go in, I say hi to everybody. I go off to the side, I find my spot, and I don't talk to nobody till I need to know what I'm doing. And then we set it up from there. But that's my main thing with the Samoans and with Pops training in Allentown. Respect, man. It's all about respect. We did 1,000 bodyweight squats before we even got in the ring. And that was the weed guys out. So needless to say, there wasn't too many guys there the second day.
No, definitely not. And Wrecking Ball, you mentioned beforehand that you and Gene know each other. Do you remember the first time you met him? Because Gene's saying, he goes in with respect. Did you get that too as a meeting?
No, absolutely. First time I met him was at SWF in New Jersey. It was also a coincidence. We were scheduled for like 2 matches in a row for separate promotions that just didn't talk to each other. It just happened that we were scheduled. So I met him at SWF, and like a week later, we were scheduled at Battlefield. Oh, wow. Which is Alpha Junior's promotion. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Battlefield Pro is Alpha Junior's promotion, and I think it's called Broadheadsville, PA.
Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. Yep. Battlefield.
Yep. No. Gene was terrific to work with from the beginning, and just broke things down and made things simple. And we're all guilty of this, but a lot of times in wrestling we tend to overcomplicate things, and he kept it as simple as possible, which got the best results possible, especially with how big we are. We're 2 huge guys, and Gene was very good on explaining how to protect my size and to make the most out of everything I do, and that everything I do means more than what the average Joe Blow does because of how big I am. I'm 6'4", 400 pounds. Everything I do is gonna hurt or mean more than someone who's 5'11", 170 pounds.
Yeah, when I was training with Pops, he would always say, son, The guy in the very last row paid as much to get in as the guy down in the very first row. It would like resonate with me that, you know, you had to not only perform for the guys in the front row, but you had to make it larger than life for everybody up in the back row as well. So that's the main thing I tried to tell, you know, Wrecking Ball. I was like, hey man, you're a gigantic guy, you're athletic, you can move, you're not just a big blob out there. You know, when you're doing something, it's special and it means more. So you have to, you know, translate that over to the fan because the fan has to take time to digest everything. If you're doing like nothing against the smaller lucha libre guys or the smaller guys, but when you're jumping around doing 17 spots in a row, where does the crowd get to digest any of it? You know what I'm saying? Like him and I battle, we're like shoulder tackle, face off, push off, typical big guy stuff, but the way we do it and put our spin on it draws people in and makes it special. Because anybody could do a body slam, anybody could do a suplex. I mean, that's the basic moves of wrestling. But it's how you put your character and your spin on it that makes it special and stand out. So that's basically the main thing I was trying to transfer over to Wrecking Ball because he's a unique guy. There's not many people walking the face of the earth that look like him or myself. So you have to make not only your special in public, you have to be special in the ring and special with your movement and special with the psychology of the match because any big guy could go out there and punch, kick, body slam. But how do you translate that over to the story that we're trying to tell and get it across to the fan to where they could get emotionally invested in the character? That's the whole key with wrestling because it all breaks it down to good guy versus bad guy. Simple as that.
Really well said. That's awesome, valuable advice that you've given Wrecking Ball too. And we heard about the Samoan style from Gene. Wrecking Ball, what was it like? One of the names you mentioned was Bubba Ray Dudley, obviously legend in the business. What kind of pieces of advice did he give you during training?
I mean, along the similar lines, you know, sometimes you need to hear something from your dad. Sometimes you need to hear something from your uncle. Like the different things that resonate differently. From him, the biggest thing was learning what to take out in a match. Like a lot of times we do too many spots, too many moves, too many this, too many that, to where, you know, you keep doing everything and they don't get the reaction. You know, it's with him is like maximizing what I do and maximizing the time that I get and, you know, making sure that I stick to my time, you know, because if you go over time, you know, it disrupts everything else on the card. And sometimes if you do too much, it just takes away from the match.
Gene, do you have thoughts on that or any interaction that you've had with Bubba Dudley too?
Oh, those guys are great. They were at WWE when I was there. And we did like a little angle with the WWE versus ECW thing there for a little bit. I mean, I've never had any issues with them. And I mean, they're actually one of the easiest guys to set up matches with because that's the key.
As he said, right?
Yeah. You know, you got to be able to have some chemistry and be able to work through the match to get to the story that you're trying to tell, you know, like I was saying before. The writers come to you and there's a storyboard of stuff that they want to get in as far as like the match and then leading to the next match and the next match and the next match. So it's our job to take that and mold it and make it into the match to where it's the psychological, the physical, the emotion. Like I said, we're just basically out there. We're like puppet masters. We're playing with the people's emotions. If I want to get a good reaction out of somebody, I know what to do. If I want to get a bad reaction out of somebody, I know how to get that too. That's the magic of pro wrestling. I can make somebody so pissed off that they want to punch me in the face. I can make somebody love me so much that they give me their lunch, you know? So it's pulling the strings.
One of the other things is like how to approach a match. Like one of the questions you should ask the promoter, whoever you're working for, and you know, your opponent, what is the business of the match? Some people will go into a match like more worried about the cool moves you could do, which, you know what, cool moves are important at sometimes and whatnot. But the most important thing is like learning the business of the match. What is the desired outcome? What's the desired emotional appeal of the match? Who are we trying to get over? What aspect of them are we trying to get over? Are we trying to get over that this guy's a giant, or this guy's a giant killer, or this guy's a chicken shit heel? Just whatever, you got to find out like what the business of the match and what the goal of the match is trying to accomplish.
Gene, curious if you keep up with wrestling still, because being trained by one of the elders, as they're calling it, if you have any thoughts on the Bloodline storyline that's going on right now.
That's great. Ironically, I used to travel with Joe's brother, Matty, when he was doing the 3 minute, the thing with Hurricane there and 3 minute warning.
Superhero, yeah.
Yeah. Man, he was awesome. And we always, he would always talk about Joe and like how good he was doing at Georgia Tech and all that. So, I mean, being trained by the family, I kind of feel like, it's kind of an outreach for me as well, because it's cool to see those guys being successful. And I met the twins, Joe and Jay and Jimmy, probably 3 or 4 years before they even got into wrestling. Umaga brought them backstage in a show in Texas, and that's when I first met those guys. I've known those guys since they're like teenagers. It's crazy to see how successful they are now. Matter of fact, he was just we just saw him at Raw on Monday in Wilkes-Barre last week, and he came running, runs right out to Oos, what's up, Oos? Like, tell Pop I said hi, blah blah blah. I know Rikishi really well, his dad, and it's just cool to see like how they're becoming so successful and such a force in the business, because Pops and Sika and the High Chief Peter Maivia. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, when you think of pro wrestling, I mean, there's always been a Samoan in one of the top spots. It's amazing. Like that's just crazy. And the fact that I had the opportunity to train under Alpha, it's just like, it's mind blowing, dude. Like, of all the places where I ended up living, I was 45 minutes from the training camp. It's like, what are the odds? Like I'm saying, it's just like crazy the track that your life takes, man. It's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, you were really meant to be where you ended up, definitely. And one thing, so you get to WWE, and I'm curious, I saw when I was doing my research, so your name is Snitsky, right? Without the T, and then in WWE they added the T. Is that?
Yeah, it was Vince added the T to trademark my name, because you can't trademark somebody's real name.
Such a little change though in there. So that was it. Do you remember him giving you that name, Gene Snitsky? And were you happy that you at least got to use like a version of your name?
It's kind of funny. Like, there's another story, but I don't know how true it is, but I heard it through the grapevine. But like, when Kane did the first promo, like calling me out, it sounded like he said Snitsky. So they were kind of using it after that too. But I was told through a better source that it was because of the trademark, because they can't trademark somebody's real name. And my real last name, Snisky. So at first I was Gene Snitsky. Then they just dropped the Gene and I was Snitsky. So I don't know how that all transpired, but I got 3 action figures out of it, so I'm not going to complain.
Yep. The T in Snitsky stands for trademark.
That's great.
I dare say it stands for tremendous, but we'll leave. We'll go with trademark.
Well, Wrecking Ball, you really do have one of like the best names that I've come across in wrestling. I love Wrecking Ball Legursky. And where did that come about for you?
I do too. I think it's great.
Thank you guys. Wrecking Ball. I'm just a very
look at the guy.
Look at the guy. Self-explanatory. I can only see up. Yeah.
I look like a wrecking ball. I talk like a wrecking ball. I walk like a wrecking ball. Honestly, when I played football, I was very straightforward, very much a smash mouth type of player. I was just thinking different names. And Wrecking Ball, like, to me, that's a name that would have been more commonly used, but I thought of that and I used that. And Legursky was actually after a former Steelers offensive lineman, Doug Legursky, He played. So I'm a Giants fan. I'm from Connecticut. But anytime the Giants were out of the playoffs or whatever, or anytime the Steelers were on, I would root for them. And there was a guy, Doug Legursky, who he would be like the sixth offensive lineman in. Either like if a center or guard went down, he would be in, or if short yardage, they'd put him in at fullback or tight end. And it just sounded like a tough blue collar badass name. So I just went with Wrecking Ball Legursky.
Oh, that's great. No, I love the name, and I think it's even before someone sees you in the ring, like Snitsky was saying, I mean, it gives off like a good, good connotation to what to expect. Have you ever done any in your career so far? Has there ever been any spots or anything of like destroying something like a wrecking ball? Anything very destructive in your career?
I mean, people.
People, yeah.
I destroy people every match. I put people through tables. I don't know. Nothing flat out just smashing something. I always kind of wanted like an entrance at like a bigger show, like have them set up like some drywall or something.
Yeah.
I was just
Covering the
thinking
entrance
that. I was
way,
just
just smashing through that.
just thinking that to myself.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, there's so much you could do with it, definitely. Well, Gene, so you went to OVW after your training, but I feel like you weren't there too long before your main roster debut. Did you enjoy your time in OVW?
I enjoyed my time at OVW, but I'm not a huge fan of like the Midwest slow moving, slow paced lifestyle. Like
Right.
that was I played college football in Missouri, and I thought it was slow paced at Missouri. Man, Louisville's even slower. Woo! That's my main thing, man. I'm always like rushing around or like trying to get somewhere or want to get shit done. And my wife yells at me. She's like, "Slow down! You're driving too fast." It's always like so yelling at me, and it's like, babe, I got shit to do. I want to get this done. Let's go. I hate slowpokes. Hate slowpokes. Drives me nuts.
Ooh, I hate slow drivers in the left lane. The left
I hate
lane
them anywhere. Left lane, right lane.
That's
I hate
true.
slow drivers. Man, it drives me nuts. I hate that. That's like my biggest pet peeve. And my wife just like, she gets so upset because I'll pass anywhere. I don't care. If somebody's going like 30 and a 55, I'm passing them. I don't care.
As you
It's
should.
like, especially the left lane. That lane is to drive like you just robbed a bank and you're trying to get away. It's
Like
not
a lunatic.
just...
Left lane
Exactly.
lunatic. Yeah.
Driving like it's
Exactly.
stolen.
Exactly.
When you were in OVW, who else was there with you during that time period?
Oh, geez. Matt Morgan, Bobby Lashley, Beast, Nova, Davari, Ken Kennedy, Muhammad Hassan, Chris Masters. I trained a lot with Chris and Lashley. We worked out a lot together out there. The Louisville athletic clubs, they would compass memberships and shit, so we'd always work out together. But yeah, I mean, the group of guys was great. I had a blast. That part of it was awesome. Like training with Bill DeMott and Lance Storman and Danny Davis, the way he ran the show, and Jimmy Cornette. Man, I had so much fun training and learning under those guys. Like the guys these days have no idea what it was like in those days. Like I broke into business, paying my dues, driving all over the Northeast, wrestling in Pittsburgh, Maryland, North Carolina, New England. If I got $20 towards gas, I was ecstatic. Now it's like, these guys sign a contract off the floor to making a grand a week. I think something like that.
Oh my God.
Just to train to wrestle. Like, how do you beat that? That's great.
You mentioned one name there, Jim Cornette. I've heard you say he has like a brilliant mind for the business. What was it like being so close with him and being able to train under him?
Oh, he's great. Like we would go to dinner like as a group of people all the time and to pick his brain. And I mean, a lot of people don't like him because he rubs people the wrong way, but that's okay. I mean, sometimes the truth hurts and people can't take it, and that's just how it is. But as far as myself and him, man, he's great. I loved him. I loved working with him. I loved learning from him. Loved hanging out with him outside the business. Like, I can't say one bad thing about the man. He always treated me fair, always helped me, always went out of his way to help me. And no, he's A1 in my book, man. He's a good dude.
That's cool to hear like a different perspective on that. Because there is a lot of like negative stuff towards him. One other name you mentioned was Bobby Lashley, and he's still killing it. I don't know if you were able to see him when you were on Raw or Reconnect.
He wasn't there this time. I saw him last time we went out, but yeah, him and we used to train together a lot out in Louisville, so I'm happy for him to see him doing well. And we have a really good mutual friend who, you know, obviously wrestles too, but Marty Wright is he does the
Boogeyman. Boogeyman, right?
They're all buddies of mine, and I still keep in touch with everybody, you know, him and Marty. So it's cool to see him still going.
That must be a crazy watching you three walk in like anywhere. I mean, that's a huge group, just mass wise alone.
It was funny because I was just telling a story at the shop the other day. We got pulled over one time. I think it was in Florida, and I always drove because I didn't trust any of the other guys. So it was me, Umaga, Viscera, and Kyoto. And we rolled up, got pulled over by a cop. There's a 350-pound Samoan, a 400-pound black guy with a blonde mohawk, me with the goatee that looked like a psychopathic guy who just got out of the funny farm or the psych ward or whatever. And little Kyoto sitting in the back seat. And it's like, hello, officer, how you doing today? I could just tell he's looking at us like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
That's so good.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, like going anywhere with those guys. Oh my God. I mean, I'm big, but those guys are like ridiculous. Like Umaga was, like I said, like 6'3", 6'4", about 350, and like athletic as hell. Viscera was a little taller than me, probably about 6'7", 6'8", 400 some pounds. The big black.
He's got to be. He had to have been pushing 5, down 4.
Yeah, he was big. I mean, anything over 350 is big in my book. So, yeah, but like us walking into a place, forget about it, man. It was like, you know, you weren't going to try to hide. You weren't going to try to be inconspicuous. You weren't sneaking into anywhere.
No. What about when it came to meals? What feeds you guys, a group of you guys?
Believe it or not, we usually hit like an Outback Steakhouse and just order a bunch of stuff. I mean, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. But
what's not believable about you getting steak?
Well, most people would think like a buffet or like a Golden Corral or something like that, I would think. But we actually went to like normal restaurants and just ordered a bunch of stuff.
Delicious. Well, Wrecking Ball. So, do you remember your very first match, the feelings that you had for it? I mean, you're 10 years in now, but turning back the clock, what were your feelings like right before you head out there?
No, I mean, I was nervous. I mean, a lot of the match was choreographed, so it was like, you know, just trying to remember everything and whatnot, but very nervous. I remember, you know, making my entrance. A lot of my, you know, most of the entrances I do, I yell. And I remember almost like passing out. I remember just getting super lightheaded and almost passing out. It's like, whoa, where am I? But then I got back into it soon. But no, yeah, I was very nervous before, but then like, you know, it was like an awesome feeling afterwards.
Like, to me, it was weird because like I'm ultra competitive and I come from the athletic background. You know, I played baseball, basketball, football. You know. And I was good at all the sports. So it was like when I first got to wrestling and they'd tell you like, okay, well, this guy's gonna beat you, and yeah, I'm like, what? So that was like the hardest thing for me, like just letting somebody beat me.
And when did those like kind of pass for you, or if they ever did, like those pre-match nerves?
I don't get nervous.
You don't get nervous, period. Just too competitive.
Nah, I get more. I wouldn't say nervous. I'd say more like anxious, just pumped up. Like I want to go out and I want to do it. You know, that's one thing I hate about like TV Mondays at Raw. Like you get there at 1 o'clock and you're sitting around getting, your pre-tapes done, getting your match set up. Like to me, it's like just such a long day. And then finally you go live on TV at 8 or 9 at night. And then you're like, you're so pumped up and you're like, then you can't unwind. So you're like sitting around all day and then you get so pumped up for being on TV and then you're up to like 3, 4 in the morning because you can't unwind. It was just like an ongoing process, but just part of the nature of the beast. But I mean, I love performing. I was always like a class clown kind of guy. If you dare me to do something, I'd do it just to get a reaction or a laugh or, it's just how it was back when. It's just how it was when I was growing up. Everybody busted everybody's balls about everything and teased everybody about stuff, and nobody got upset about it. Nobody had hurt feelings, or it was just that's how it was when I was growing up. And I always wanted to be the best at everything I did. I hate losing. I hate losing at anything, like anything. My wife, oh my God, my wife and I get in arguments over Papa Shot. It's crazy. Like I hate losing at anything. And it's my dad's fault because when I was a kid, he would beat me in Pong and he'd rub it in every time. It'd be like for weeks, he'd beat you, blah, blah. Oh man, I get so mad. So it drives me. I hate losing at anything. That's why it was so hard for me. Like when I got into wrestling, like, oh, this guy's gonna go over. I'm like, this is like, it was weird.
Well, you were really thrown in pretty quickly, like I said, after OVW made your debut against someone really established already in Kane. And you don't get nervous, you said, but did you feel any pressure or what was your mindset? Did you want to do a good job? Like, can you walk us through your mindset?
I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant by any means, but like I played football in front of 100,000 people, like 80, 90,000 people. So coming out to an arena of 12,000 people is not, to me, like not overwhelming or intimidating or, I'm thinking to myself, I just think in my head what I had to do. And like I've, like I said, paid my dues, got there, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity. And I was always one of those guys, man, just give me the ball and I'm going to run, I'm going to score a touchdown. And that's just always been my mindset. So when they told me, hey, we're going to, like, I never knew what I was doing till literally like an hour before the show. That's the crazy thing. Like I got there, they flew me in, stayed at the TV hotel, went to the arena, got my spot, put my stuff down, and I just went into catering. I just hung out in catering all day. Finally, Dean Malenko came over to me and he's like, hey, they want to see you out at the ring. I'm like, okay. So I go out there, and that's literally when I found out that Glenn and I were doing the angle and that I was going to hit him with the chair and yada, yada, and cause the miscarriage. Like, I didn't have the slightest idea what I was doing till about an hour before that. It was crazy.
What was Kane like to work with? I hear he's one of pound for pound, like the strongest guys, or at one point he was back there. Did you feel that?
I mean, all the guys were pretty strong. I mean, that's when the era of the big jacked up guys was. So like everybody was pretty strong, and we'd all work out at the gyms together. So that was kind of cool. But no, Glenn's awesome, man. Like he could have been like, hey, man, I don't like Snitsky. Get me somebody else. So I mean, that's literally how it was back then. And he liked me. We hit it off. We had good chemistry. I followed his lead. Did what he wanted me to do, and thankfully for me, we hit it off and he took me under his wing and we did the storyline and it led to a lot of other good opportunities for me. So he's always been a guy that goes out of his way for the business. And everybody will tell you that. Like he's a true professional, but I just I don't want to say I owe my whole WWE career to him, but he could have easily been, well, get me somebody else. I don't like him, and then I would have never been there. So, just fortunate for me, I was the right place at the right time, and I took the ball, I ran with it, scored a touchdown, spiked the ball, and 20 years later, almost, we're still talking about it. So that's cool. Spike the baby.
Spike the yeah. No, that's coming up. That is coming up. There was a moment, Gene, where you got chokeslammed off the stage by Kane in that rivalry, and that's Awesome. It was such a cool moment.
Thanks for reminding me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to know about that. Like, what? Yeah. Did you have any thoughts about that beforehand? How did it come about? I guess what did they tell you that an hour beforehand too, that you were going to get tossed off the stage like that?
Luckily for that one, we had enough time to like walk through it. But the actual fall, the one you see on TV, is the very first time we actually jumped. So it was like, I joke with my wife about it all the time. I'm like, you know, if I could jump off a stage backwards and just, fall down and hit a table, I think everything else that we do around here, I'll be all right. we go four-wheeling a lot, and she's very nervous with my driving. I don't know why, because I think I'm a great driver, but she doesn't think so. But yeah, it was just really weird, like trying to get like the footing down, like the placement. Like, I mean, it's basically like an ST plunge, but you're landing on something hard as opposed to water. Basically, was for me, anyways. He was going forward, but I was going backwards, and I just jumped, man, and tucked my chin.
Oh, that's so cool. Like I said, a great visual though. I mean, it looked great. It looked like you destroyed you. Wrecking Ball, have you seen that moment?
I actually have not seen that moment. I'm sorry, Snitsky.
It's okay.
Nerd. That's all right.
Very good. Go and watch it. Definitely. Now you know the backstory of it, so you should definitely go check it out.
It was definitely a daunting task. I never jumped off of a 10 or 15 foot high stage before backwards, so I was just expect the worst, hope for the best type of thing.
Did Kane give any words of wisdom with him being a little bit more of a veteran? No.
It was just one jumping, and that's that. When I grab you and I say we're going straight to hell, we're going right after that. I was like, all right.
I love that. Imagine hearing that in your ear, going straight to hell, diving off the stage. Wrecking Ball, you mentioned this earlier, like your big man, obviously the style in the ring, and what the advice that Snitsky was giving you. Oh, do you take pride in being one of the bigger wrestlers today, with there being a lot more of a trend of smaller wrestlers, I feel?
Oh, absolutely. And for a while, I felt like a pressure to try to
give me some more soda, please.
You're still on camera.
That's okay. I'm just getting more soda. I need more soda.
Yeah.
I told you
but
dinner. I'm multitasking, Wrecking Ball. I multitask. I'm very efficient.
You're putting in orders right now. That's more than having beer. For a while, there definitely felt like a pressure to try to wrestle like a smaller guy and do some of the stuff smaller guys do. But now it's like, just lean in and be me and, stand out, It's easier to stand out when you're different than wrestling like everyone else the same. So I try to make my matches stand out by, using my size, using my strength, as opposed to doing a bunch of flips and quote unquote cool things. I use my size, attitude, and aggression to stand out. So I absolutely do take pride in it. A lot of wrestlers these days can't pass the quote unquote airport test. And I definitely take pride in passing the airport test. Basically, the airport test is if you're in an airport and you look at someone and you're like, there's something about that person. I wonder what they do. That's the airport test. And a lot of guys, you wouldn't be able to pick them out in an airport. And I do. Like, you could pick me out. You could be like, I wonder what he does. Is he a wrestler? Is he in the NFL? Does he do security for a big music group? So I absolutely take pride in standing out.
Similar question for you, Snitsky, too. How did you stand out? Because during your time, they were a lot more bigger. Like you said, it was more of the stronger generation then. So what did you do to stand out?
I think it was more just my character. Like I took a lot of pride in like being as creepy as possible and like as scary as possible. Like just with like my eyes and my mannerisms and my eyebrows and just showing like that psycho type look like on my face and like just trying to think to myself like, all the horror movie characters as I'm doing it, I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th and Halloween, and I'm fortunate enough to have become really good friends with the guy who wrote Friday the 13th, which is kind of cool. Victor Miller's a good friend of mine. So like I said before, like it's crazy how my life's gone
Yeah.
in these different directions because like as a kid I would watch that damn movie and like run around the woods like trying to scare the shit out of people. It was great, like camping and stuff and fuck with people. It was just great. So like it was always one of my favorite movies. And then now I'm like friends with the guy who wrote it. And it's like when you say Friday the 13th, everybody knows what you're talking about. Everybody. Like it's just so worldwide recognized worldwide that like no matter where you're at. And it's cool because my wife and I we went to Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey on our wedding anniversary for our anniversary. So, and it was on a Friday the 13th too. So that was cool. But yeah, so it's kind of full circle type thing for us. We're big with like the horror movies and comics and superheroes and stuff. So that was right up our alley. But yeah, just trying to. I think like just my look, like Wrecking Ball said, when you're walking out in public, the people look at you and go, "Holy shit, look at that guy," or do they just not even notice you? And even my wife, she's like, "Man, some of these guys, you wouldn't even know they were like athletes," So I was brought up that perception is reality, and if you look like something, people think you're something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all the
That's a
art of
great
illusion
saying.
in wrestling.
Yes. No, definitely suspending the disbelief and everything. Well, Gene, so I'm sure you're asked 100 times about it. You brought it up earlier. I want to hear about the baby. Why did you kick the baby? How it came about? And yeah, just where did that storyline come about? And I guess what the aftermath was too.
Well, at the time I was there, Dan Madigan was writing all the stuff for me, and he's awesome. He wrote Glenn's movie, See No Evil, and he's like widely known throughout the horror movie genre writing. Like he's awesome, and we keep in touch to this day. We're friends. We have I shoot him a text, whatever. But Dan's awesome. He wrote all the stuff, and it's it's something that they could never do today. But back then, man, it was off the wall. It was ridiculous. It was funny. I mean, it was everything rolled up into one. And I think that's why everybody still remembers it to this day because it's like, the craziness of pro wrestling combined with, kicking a baby doll, like, and actually people thought it was a real baby. That's the funny part. But
it wasn't.
No. But it's crazy, like how people just reacted to it. Like literally, like in the blink of an eye, there was people chanting like "baby killer," like, and then it came out the Jericho's highlight reel and kicked the baby, and it's just nuts, man. Like I remember like rehearsal, and Vince comes up to me, he's like, "Hey Snitsky, whatever you do, don't fuck this up, all right?" I'm like, "Listen, Mr. McMahon, I was an area punter in high school. This is gonna be amazing." And he's just kind of like looked at me like, "What?" I'm like, "Telling you, I got this."
That's so cool. Where did it actually end up, that baby? How far into the crowd?
I think it hit the first row, but I was more impressed with my height because if you've ever tried to kick a baby doll, it's not the easiest thing to do, and let alone on live television in front of 4 million people. So, it's one of those things where you're on the red light's on, man, and you either hit a home run or you strike out. and I hit a home run. So
You
that's what I
definitely
do.
did.
I'm a home run hitter. Damn it.
Oh, you definitely, it was impressive. And specifically with Lita, because you said, you can never do something like that today. How was she with doing something that was a little bit off the wall, controversial back then?
It's sad to say, or I guess funny to say, or however you want to phrase it. Like, nobody thought anything of it. Like, it was just another day. Like, we didn't look at it as controversial or, oh my God, he's kicking a baby. Like, I just was like, I'm like, this is great. I'm on WWE. I'm living my dream. I'm on TV in front of millions of people. I'm running around in my underwear getting paid good money to act like a whack job. I mean, what else could you ask for? This is great. That's what I was thinking.
That's true. It's true. I mean, it was great. It's remembered for years. It's in all the OMG moments and everything. I mean,
I know it's nuts. I'm going to petition though the Royal Rumble eliminations. I should have number one. It should not be number two. It should be number one. I'm petitioning right now for number one.
I want to get right after this. I want to get into that elimination. That is an incredible one. It is my favorite. So if that does anything, Wrecking Ball. So I said earlier, you're with the NWA, and that must have been a huge moment in your career, getting with them and joining them. Can you talk about how that actually came about?
So it got started. So first off, Homicide put in several he wrestles there and he also works backstage. He put in several recommendations for me, and then also my partner Jay. I never actually met him in person until the NWA, but during the pandemic, we talked a little bit online. So Jay was in WWE for a little bit, Impact for a little bit, wrestled in Japan. And he took a brief hiatus from wrestling during the pandemic. And once the pandemic was over, once he wanted to return to wrestling, he worked with Billy at Impact, and he was friends with Billy and wanted to get back into it. And he said there was no openings for any singles wrestlers, but the tag team division is open. And he just remembered me from talking online and got hooked up. And honestly, like, we had tremendous chemistry from the beginning. It was kind of like a big brother, right from the beginning.
It's great. And I mean, the NWA is such an incredible roster right now too, that I think people should definitely keep like a closer eye on. There's so many there. Who do you think people should really be watching, other than the Fixers, of course?
Well, yeah, of course, the Fixers. You got Tom Latimer, who's doing tremendous. EC3 has reinvented himself. I mean, he seems to be the best. Right? Yeah, he seems to be the best version of himself. Thrillbilly Silas Mason, Jack Talos. He partnered with Daisy Kill. Talos is 7 feet tall. You got a lot of Rebellion, which is Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666. I don't know. There's a lot of talent in the NWA. Knox and Murdoch.
Yeah.
BFT, Blunt Force Trauma.
Snitsky, do you watch NWA at all?
Unfortunately, I don't watch too much wrestling at all anymore. I'm busy with the shop, and then with all the stuff I have going on, it's just kind of hard to really keep up with anything. But I keep up with him, Wrecking Ball, because we're friends on social media and stuff, and we talk pretty much almost every day. So I keep up with his shit. But his videos, his highlight reels are good. I told him he needs to get more out there promoting himself with the bigger companies, because to me, he's one of the better younger guys that I've seen, and I think he has the ability and the character type. What's the word? Character, like the old school character guys. Like, he's just like kind of a blend of old and new, which is kind of what I like. I think it's cool. So
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's awesome you guys talk almost every day. And I love the pairing that I had no clue you guys even knew each other.
Yeah, no, I thought Snitsky set it up. That's why.
That's great. No, that's so cool. Well, Gene, so you brought it up, the Royal Rumble elimination. I want to know because I actually got a chance a few days ago to sit down with Paul London in person at this event in Long Island and get his whole perspective on it. And he says you two are friends and everything. But the whole lead up and he really walked through it. And, you know, Paul is thorough. He gave like a 17-minute answer on that start to finish. And how they stretched him out when he got to the back and all that. I'd love to hear through your eyes, though, of this Royal Rumble elimination.
Well, it's not going to be 17 minutes. So sorry
I didn't think so.
So, I mean, basically, everybody has their set spots for the match. So Paul came to me and he's like, "Hey, man, then what do you think about this?" And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. So then we kind of took the idea and kind of molded it to what you saw actually happen. Because it was like, I wanted it to look more like I was missing something and then just caught him out of the blue kind of thing. So that first clothesline I missed, but then the second one basically decapitated him. It was great. And I told him, I'm like, Paul, you know, I love you, man, but I'm going to have to close on you square in the face to get you to flip over like that. He's like, that's fine. I don't care. So, like, when you watch it back, man, my forearm meets his head and it's vicious. Like, watching it in real time, it's like, holy shit. Oh my God. Like it looked even better than it felt. If that makes sense. Man, I was like right there watching them flip through the air and smack off the floor, and I was like, "Oh, that was nice."
As they're did you know they were going to stretch him out?
No. I was like, I heard a few different things, so I'm interested to see what Paul told you. But I heard that he got yelled at when he got backstage too. Like I was still in the ring after that, so obviously, but so I missed all that and all the rumblings. No pun intended.
Yeah, so Paul basically said he got to the back, he hopped off the stretcher, and Pat Patterson, who was his biggest like fanboy, was like, "Did everyone see that? Did you see what Paul just took out there?" And everyone was kind of a little sour on it, like Michael Hayes. He was like, it was good, but a little too good. And a couple other people didn't love it that much. So you didn't experience that immediately. Did you hear anything about that afterwards?
I did afterwards, yeah. Like I heard about the whole, like, I guess. See, the way I heard it was like Vince ripped him a new asshole because it was like overshadowed everything else that had happened.
In the Rumble?
Yeah.
Wow. Just about that elimination. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what I had heard. So I'm interested to see what Paul said. What did Paul say?
He didn't mention Vince, but I'm sure Vince, you know, came up if you heard that. But it was mainly Michael Hayes, just them kind of being sour on it being too good for the Rumble.
Well, I mean, they basically tell you who you're eliminating, and it's up to you to eliminate them. So I don't know why they would have got upset about that, because to me, that's being super creative and
super creative. Yeah.
When you're a performer, you go out there to perform and steal the show. You don't go out there just to stand there. So
exactly. No, exactly. And there's tons of creative eliminations these days too. Like after that, I feel like that set of precedents.
Well, thanks. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely resonated with a lot of people. And the last I saw the countdown, they do a countdown every year before the Royal Rumble, and it's been at number 2 for a while now. But I think it should be number 1, like I said.
What is number 1? Do we know? What is it?
It doesn't matter.
That's not your gimmick.
Yeah, right.
No, but I know The Rock. I'm allowed to use it.
Well, you spoke all about that Royal Rumble. You were just back at Raw. You don't have to reveal anything, but can we possibly see Snitsky back in WWE in an in-ring fashion Royal Rumble?
Well, when it comes to me in all aspects of my life, whether it be wrestling or just me being me, never say never, because you never know where I'm going to show up. I'm like a cheap suit. I'm all over.
Is there anyone that you'd want specifically to lock up with in WWE today that you didn't get to back when you were there? Maybe they weren't there, or maybe you wanted to, but you just never had anything.
That's a tough question, but I'm gonna go with the obvious. Most people always want to see me and Braun Strowman, or me and Braun Strowman tagging, or something with me and Braun Strowman. I get it all the time, so it's like that'd be kind of cool to either tag with him or do like an angle with him, or be like his older brother, or like be the long lost member of the Wyatt family or something. I don't know. I could fit into any part because I'm an amazing actor and I'm an amazing athlete and I'm just amazing. So I could fit in anywhere.
Oh my God.
And humble.
And humble. Yeah. Total package. Yeah.
It's only bragging if you can't back it up.
Exactly.
There you go. That's the truth. Wrecking Ball. So I feel like for the beginning of your career, for the longest part, you were more singles, and then you formed the Fixers come NWA. Is that how it came about?
Yeah, most of my career I wrestled singles, but I've been doing a lot more tag lately, not just the NWA with Jay. Northeast Wrestling, I tagged with RJ Rude. We were Rude Balls. I'm tagging with Alec Odin at PPW in Pennsylvania. Team Huge with a Y. Now I do a mix of both, depending on the situation and what's needed of me and what storyline and whatnot.
Do you have one you prefer more, singles or tag?
I don't know. On one end, like the singles gets more of more of a shine on me as I'm in the entire match. On the other hand, it's easier cardio wise doing a tag match.
So cute. Who is this?
My St. Bernard Hondo.
Hondo, nice.
What's up, big guy?
We got Miss Snitsky, we got Hondo, we got Snitsky. All the cameos.
This is my friend over here.
I saw you show that earlier. What is that?
Just the gimp that we keep in the corner.
Oh yeah. We've all got one of those. Wrecking Ball, where's yours?
Oh, yeah, my corner gimp is not here. I got a light post.
It's exciting for me because the quality's great. So very cool, Wrecking Ball. Gene, I want to go to you. When you were involved in a tag team match for an event that's coming up right now, it's Survivor Series, and you were involved in Team Triple H versus Team Orton, which must have been a really cool moment. That was the main event, I'm pretty sure. And is that where the infamous Maven injury took place as well? It is. Can you talk about that?
I mean, basically, he was supposed to do a flying forearm, and we all know that those flying forearms are supposed to hit you in the chest or the neck area. And his rode a little high because I guess he was so excited. And he freaking stuck his elbow right in my eye socket, and all I heard was a crunching sound. And then when I got up, I had blood everywhere, and my eyelid was hanging down. I was seeing triple, and then I had to go hit Orton, Maven, and Jericho with a chair after that, and I couldn't see. So I was like, oh, this ought to be fun. But I saved the best one for Maven, and I bent the chair over his head, and I mean,
Yeah. And there you go. He actually, I think he detailed that moment. He's very successful now with his YouTube channel. He blew up overnight.
Yeah, I saw
Maven,
that. Yeah.
Maven did, yeah. And what was Maven like to work with, or did you have much conversation after that chair shot?
Yeah, no, Maven's great, man. I mean, we're good friends. Accidents happen, but in wrestling, you always get the receipt. You get potatoed, you give him potato salad. So it's how it is. He knew it was coming. There's no secret. I mean, this is how it is,
Right.
But no, we're great friends. And Maven's awesome. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. I mean, accidents happen. It's not tiddlywinks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out there in a tutu jumping around doing ballerina poses. I'm out there knocking people's heads off. So it happens.
He does seem like a nice guy too, just through his YouTube, channel alone.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's great. I can't say anything bad about him, other than he has bad aim with an elbow.
And just Survivor Series overall, was that a good event for you? We've got it coming up in about 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
being in the tag
I
team
actually
aspect.
have a one of my fans sent me a picture. It's me and Batista head to head, like pushing at each other. And I have it framed. My wife framed it, and we have it up above our fireplace at the house here.
Oh, cool. I don't know if you're a
Yeah.
fan of like Guardians of the Galaxy, being so into like superheroes and everything, like you were saying. Was that cool to be able to
Yeah.
do so with these?
No, Dave and I came through the same training camp actually too, so it's cool. We both trained at the Samoan camp, so you know I've known Dave a long time. I'm happy for his success. It's great to see him doing as well as he's doing because I know he was struggling there for a while when he first moved out to LA. So I'm happy to see that he's gotten as successful as he has.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool to see also, yeah, from the wrestling industry to Hollywood, like he's done. Well, there's rumors right now of this upcoming Survivor Series of somebody returning, and it's Randy Orton, and being involved in that Team Orton, Team Triple H. Any Randy Orton stories to share?
Ooh, several. I don't know if I can share them though. The week after I had my orbital bone broke, I had to run out and jump him outside the ring. And when I ran down, I guess he didn't like how I hit him, and he said something under his breath. So we almost got in a fight backstage, but that, it's how it is. But ever since then, we've been great friends. So sometimes you just gotta, get in a fight and move on.
Well, sometimes those, yeah, exactly. And thoughts on his return, maybe his
I
possible
think
return.
it's great. He's probably one of the, top 5 performers in the history of the business.
Right.
Second generation or third generation. Definitely second. He might be third. Is he second or third? He might be second.
He's third. He's third. Bob Orton
That's what I was
Sr.
thinking. Yes, I knew. I was thinking that. Anyways, so he's awesome, man. I used to hang out with him all the time. Like after we got in our little fight, but it's I'm glad to see him coming back, man. That's just a tribute to him and his longevity, man. Like he's been there shit. What, going on 20? It got to be like 25 years now, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a long time, and he still
Yeah.
looks great. Yeah.
No, he's awesome. I mean, another great athlete. Just like we talked about earlier. When you think of the rattlesnake, that's what you think of. He like portrays that character to the T, and that's to me like the most impressive thing.
Well, we'll start to wind it down. Wrecking Balls, I'm curious, what are some goals for you, the long term or short term, that we can come to expect that are on your radar?
I think right now is to win the NWA Tag Team Championship.
Yeah.
No, the actual. So we were the United States Tag Team Champions. I would like to win the heavyweight, the World Tag Team Champions. Long-term goal to make as much money as I can and to wrestle in Japan.
Oh, really? To wrestle in Japan? Gene, have you been to Japan?
Yeah, I've been to Japan several times. It's awesome. I got 2 Ribera Steakhouse jackets, and yeah, Japan's awesome. He'll do well over there. They'll love him over there. They like the big American guys.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes open. Gene, one more question here about someone specific. There's another rumor, if it's not Randy Orton, it's going to be CM Punk to return to Survivor Series coming up. And I know not to bring up other injuries, but I think one did happen with Punk as well. Maybe your nose or something in a GTS.
Yeah, he broke my nose. I should say I broke my nose off his leg.
It was just that impactful move. Any memories of working with CM Punk?
No, he's great. I just, like I said just 5 minutes ago, accidents happen, and that's just the nature of the business. It's not tiddlywinks, and the injuries heal, and you move on. But yeah, Phil's a great guy. I mean, I've known Phil forever, and I mean, I'm happy to see any wrestler succeed and make as much money as possible because the business is tough. It's a hard business. You're basically winning the lottery to get to a WWE, to get to an AEW, to get to a TNA. I mean, that's like your odds of making it as a top level pro wrestler in this world are slim to none. And, hopefully most guys out there have some sort of background in like, some sort of education, degree, a craft, a skill, something to fall back on because the wrestling window is very small and there's not a lot of guys that make a good living off it. It's a handful of guys, and the other guys are usually have a regular job during the week and they work on the weekends. So I can't knock anybody for trying. I can't knock anybody that's successful. I can't knock anybody that's not successful. At least, hey, at least you tried. And I'm one of those guys, man, and I say it probably 5 times a day. You don't know till you try. So give it a try. You might surprise yourself. You might fall flat on your face, but hey, at least you tried and you knew you either could do it or you couldn't do it. Instead of sitting around thinking about it. There's a lot of talkers in the world. There's not a lot of actors in the world. So, when I can't fault anybody for trying. At least you tried.
Such wise words. That's awesome. Awesome for someone who's made it too, obviously. And so final question, Snitsky, what are some long-term goals for you? I know you have the shop that you've mentioned, if you want to talk about that. And also you've been getting into the movies and TV realm. I feel like over your career you've been doing it, but definitely more now.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a little of everything. As a child, I had big dreams, like I said. I always wanted to star in a horror film. I always wanted to be in the NFL. I always wanted to be in pro wrestling. I kind of shoot for the stars, I set the highest goal I can, and that's just how I've always been. So I was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time with a lot of things and take advantage of the opportunities that I was given. And I was fortunate enough to be successful in football. Played on the first championship team in the history of Panther Valley, my high school. Division I football scholarship. Played at Missouri. Was coached by some top name coaches in the business. Moved on to wrestling, trained with some of the best people in the wrestling world, Alpha from the Wild Samoans, the Samoan dynasty. I mean, just the lineage from that family alone, man. And I learned under that learning tree. So, like, when I look back on all the shit I've done, it's like, it's just crazy to me, the people I've had the opportunity to work with and work for and travel the world with. And, the movie thing, I co-wrote, co-produced, starred in, was the stunt coordinator, the fight coordinator. We won several awards. I mean, I'm very proud of that project. And it's called 100 Acres of Hell. You can watch it on any of the streaming services if anybody wants to check it out. I'm involved with this with the business Party One Surplus in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, and luckily very successful with that as well. And now the WWE thing again, and you never know. You just never know. That's the beauty of wrestling, the beauty of life. You just take it day by day, and what happens happens, and you just roll with the punches, man. But my advice to anybody coming up out there: dream big, shoot for the stars. If I could do it, anybody could do it. I'm from a small coal mining town of like 2,800 people in the middle of nowhere. Nesquehoning, Pennsylvania. Nobody's ever heard of it before me, probably. But it's kind of cool to represent the local coal mining area. I'm very proud of the area. I was actually born in Coaldale, Pennsylvania, and my wife's from Minersville. So doesn't get much more coal miner than that.
Minersville.
So, yeah, and then you can check me out on all the social media, The Real Snitsky on Instagram, Big Gene Snitsky on Twitter. Stop by the shop, say hi, come to the conventions, come to the shows. Always got stuff going on. So if you ever run into me, don't be shy. Say hi. I don't bite, and I tend to think I'm a pretty nice guy for the most part. So stop by, say hi, check out all the stuff I got going on. I appreciate it, and Never say never in the wrestling world. And, you know, if I show up at the Royal Rumble, everybody knows it's not my fault.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the Revolutionary Force in Wrestling Interviews.